Hey, everybody, welcome back to my podcast. There is always more, episode 2. This is your host, Nicole Segovia. Today, we're going to be talking about comfort versus challenge. I want to share a little bit about when I was a lot more comfortable in a bad way in my life and how it didn't let me succeed and get to where I am today, even though I'm not done working on myself and all those good things. And then I want to also talk about how and what I did to challenge myself in order to get myself out of the rut that I was in. So, starting with the comfort, I would definitely say that it can be a good thing to be comfortable. I'm not saying that it's bad. I'm not saying that it's forbidden. What I am saying, however, is that in my case, it was only holding me back when it came to my health and my mental health and my friendships and all of those things and my other relationships because I wasn't able to give myself time. And so I feel like I was always just lacking something. Comfort kept happening when I would, for example, start a diet and if I had one bad day, in all honesty, I would feel like I failed. I'm never going to be able to finish this. Now I'm not going to do it anymore because I already failed. First of all, having that attitude is already a bad thing to start off with because if we're being honest, we're going to have bad days on a diet or whatever it is that you're doing. You're going to have bad days. And for me, thinking back, I'm just like, why did I think like that? Why was I so hard on myself? I guess is what I'm trying to say. So that's one thing that always basically kept me from meeting all of my health goals was I was afraid to fail. And when I did fail, because I did, I felt like the world was over and I might as well give up now because clearly I'm not able to fulfill my goals. Another thing that I feel comfort comes in with is my relationship with my boyfriend because we have been together for a long time and I feel that when you do get comfortable, you might stop caring about certain things because you're comfortable. You know that you're good, you know that your person loves you, and so why worry about the things that you might have been worried about when you were working on yourself and trying to get, with this person and things like that. So when I decided, you know what, I'm tired of the way that I look, I'm tired of the way that I feel, I'm tired of feeling like I'm not capable of doing something, that is when I started to make myself uncomfortable. So, making yourself uncomfortable can be a lot of things. It can mean trying something new, it can mean trying something that you've always thought was really, really hard, but you know that you can do it, you just haven't put in maybe all of your effort. It can also mean voicing your flaws to yourself. For me, journaling and basically just telling myself what I think I need to work on and why. Like for me personally, I make lists. I am a big list person. I like to make to-do list. I like to make lists like pros and cons lists about certain situations if I can't figure out what I want to do. So making a list or voicing my flaws is what made me uncomfortable. I mean, think about it. It's not comfortable to tell yourself what you lack in or what you think you could be doing better in. Nobody wants to hear that, but that's the point. The point is to be uncomfortable. Another thing that I was failing at before, but I got better when I started to really dial in was, are your goals realistic? Think about your goals, whatever your goals may be, whether it's financial goals, health goals, personal goals, relationship goals, whatever it is. Are your goals realistic? I used to make these crazy freaking goals. Like, I used to be like, you know what? I want to lose 25 pounds in a month. And I'm not saying that that's not doable. What I'm saying is, for me, because I was already giving up over one bad day, it wasn't doable. I had to be more realistic. Small goals to me is what works. For me, if I make small goals and I achieve those small goals, before I know it, I'm at the big goal. That to me, in my personal life, is way more motivating. Of course, everybody has different outlooks on that, but that's something that worked for me. So when I was on my 30 days of healthy living with Arbonne, I made small goals. I said, okay, I am going to take away, the foods that are obviously junk. So that already was hard. And then just making sure that I was staying on track and following my diet, working out every day and things like that. that's a goal in itself. Like getting that done every single day, guys, is very, very, you should be very proud of yourself. Getting to the gym, following your diet for your entire day, that's a job. Like nobody said it was easy, and it's not meant to be easy. The point of being uncomfortable, it's supposed to be a challenge. You should feel out of your comfort zone. You don't want to be complacent where you are. You want to always strive for more. So, following through, voicing my flaws, setting realistic goals, and making sure that I was getting those things done is how I made myself uncomfortable. Another huge, huge, huge thing that really helped me with like my mental health and the way that I view myself was, and I thought I was crazy. I thought this whole thing was crazy. I never really saw the point of them, but reading or reading like self-help books or motivational books or things like that, or I started doing affirmations. I know that sounds like very cliche, like, oh, you do affirmations, but seriously, I would wake up in the morning, I would go to my backyard, I would sit in my backyard with my book of choice. I would used to read You're a Badass. That's a really good one. That was like the first one I read, so I'll use that one. So I would go to the back, read You're a Badass, maybe a chapter or two, or maybe just a few pages, whatever you have time for. And I would read that and I would write in another like journal what what spoke to me about that chapter. What did I take away from my reading every single day? And then I would also do affirmations. You can go on Google and you can look up, you know, health affirmations or love affirmation, whatever you're working on in your life, you can look up affirmations for. So every day I would find an affirmation that I thought spoke to me the most that day and I would write it down. I would write it down on the same place that I was journaling about what I had just read. So between reading and affirmations and telling myself that I was capable, it helped me push. It helped me, especially on the bad days when I was like, what's the point of doing this? Nobody cares. I'm tired. I'm this, I'm that. I want to eat this, but I have to eat. It was just when life gets to you like that and you maybe sit down and read a book and you're like, "You know what? No, screw that. I can do this. I'm gonna do this and I will be okay and it's everything's going to work out." That is something that literally changed my life. Like if you know me personally, I do not read. I only read if I have to read. So when I started reading, everybody was like, "You're reading?" Like that's crazy. But I was like, if I'm reading something that's beneficial to me, I love it. And I found these books to be really, really good. So now I read and I love to read those kind of books at least. I'm not saying I love to read like other books, like I don't know, some history stuff or something. But anything that makes me feel like a badass, I love to read it because every single day, nobody's going to be cheering you on all the time. So you have to be your own cheerleader. And that's how I did it. I was my own cheerleader. I, of course, had support around me. But on the days that I was just having a rough day, I'd pick up my book before bed or in the morning, remind myself, that I'm capable, and we would move on. So, a few things that I did to challenge myself when it came to like my daily life. So I told myself that I wanted to go to the gym at least 5 days a week. Of course, I did end up going about 6 days a week and I would take Sundays off. But of course, you can go every day. You can lower that. Everybody is starting from a different spot. So I'm only telling you what works for me, but of course, if you're someone that's like, screw that, I'm going 7 days a week, go 7 days a week. That's awesome. Or if you want to go less, that's awesome as well. But having a routine, having weekly goals, like, okay, this week I'm going to go 3 times a week. And the days that maybe you can't go due to your schedule, maybe go for a walk or just do something that makes you, you're doing something physical. Physical activity is very, very good. Not comparing myself to other people made me very uncomfortable. I am one to look at somebody and be like, damn, I want to look like that. She's amazing. She's this, she's that. She has what I want. And at the end of the day, that person that you're saying that about still thinks that they're flawed. And that's what hit me. I was like, I'm looking at this person who I think is perfect, but in their own eyes, they might think that they're flawed. And I'm looking at that person like, you're crazy. There's no way you're flawed. Like, I don't get how you think you're flawed because I'm looking at you and you're perfect. but somebody might look at you that way. So that's why I think it was uncomfortable when I came to the realization that you just have to be happy with yourself. You have to be happy with where you are and the progress that you're making, because nobody is really looking at you in that way, in a negative light at least, like you think they are. I used to think, for example, like when I'm at the gym, I used to seriously think that people were looking at me. Not like, ooh, look at her, but kind of like, oh my God, like what does she think she's doing? And then I was like, no, nobody's looking at you. Everybody at the gym is there for a reason, and they're there to work out, just like you are. So that, just like telling myself that, and then it would give me like a little bit of a confidence boost. And I was like, nobody cares. Like, do your thing, go to the gym, sweat. I don't care. I look like crap coming out of the gym. Literally, I look terrible. But you know what? When I'm at the gym, I work out to my fullest. Like, I give it my all. So if I leave the gym looking like crap, then I guess I did my job. Like, that's how I feel. And another thing that really helped me, and that even today still makes me really uncomfortable, but in a good way, is somebody is always, always better than me. I tell myself that. I'm like, you know what? You think that you're working hard right now, Nicole? Like, somebody's out there literally working 10 times harder than you. And I know that might sound like tough love, but that's kind of like my self-talk, because I do want more for myself and I do have other goals that I haven't yet attained. I feel like telling myself that somebody is always working harder than me makes me only want to push harder. I actually learned that from when I used to play volleyball, because in high school, you're in high school, you have like a smaller pool to pick from. So if you're one of your best players in your high school, and then when I went off to Delta to play there, of course there were girls better than me. Was I expecting that? Yes, but I didn't know how much better than me they were. So that's when it kind of hit me like a truck, because I was like, damn, like she's a lot better than me. And I guess I just wasn't ready for that. So now in anything that I'm doing, whether it's I'm at the gym, or I'm just working hard at work or something and I'm tired and I just want to give up, I always remind myself there's always somebody that works harder than you. There's always somebody that is better than you, but you should strive to be the better person. You should want to be them. You should look at somebody that you want to be like, and what do they do? What do they do every single day that makes them successful? Maybe you should try that, because reading, for example, I have learned that successful people read. Who would have thought that? I didn't, because I freaking hate reading. So just changing that little thing made me mentally stronger, made me literally 1,000 times more confident. I have more confidence in myself as a 21-year-old than I did as a 16-year-old, when I looked like I wish I looked now. Basically, like I thought I was fat when I was 16, and I'm looking back like literally I weighed like 170 pounds. Like, who in the world told me I was fat? Nobody, but it was me comparing myself to the other people that I see on social media, that I see on TV, and it just kept building up. And that's why I hate when I coach volleyball, and they're 12 and unders, and these girls, obviously, most of them have cell phones, or they have Instagram or TikTok or whatever, and sometimes they just talk about things, and I'm like, I hate that they see the world in that way. I hate that they're already comparing themselves to other people, or that they want to look like something that they clearly aren't, simply because of what they see every single day on social media. And it's wild, but that's how it's been for a really long time. So separating yourself from that, telling yourself what you want to work on and what you're lacking and how you're going to make it better, making yourself uncomfortable, is truly something that changed my life. And I love to talk about it, because I think when people look at my story, or people just look at my life, they just see the good parts. And it's not always like that. Of course, just like anybody else, I have bad days. I have days when I truly want to give up and I literally see no point in what I'm doing. But then I have people that are so supportive and like reach out to me on social media and tell me like, "Oh my gosh, I love watching your stories. I love hearing you out. You're doing great. Keep it up." And that, seriously, that little compliment from somebody is amazing. It makes me want to keep pushing, and just the progress that I've seen within myself makes me want to keep pushing for more. So I have a quote from a article that I was reading. The article is called Disrupt Yourself: The Dangers of the Comfort Zone. And the author, Madeline Davis, wrote this. I was just kind of researching online, I love to look up things about other topics that I'm already interested in to see maybe I could learn something new. But this quote really stood out because it's exactly what this episode is about. Not only that, but I actually learned a few things from it. So the quote goes, "We'll either find ourselves in a worse position than where we started, or we'll ascend through discomfort into growth. The moment you stop pursuing discomfort, you lose the ability to control your life. But if you decide to grow, to live a bold life, you gain the ability to author your own change." End quote. So I love that it says, but if you decide to grow, to live a bold life, you gain the ability to author your own change. And that's huge because that's literally what happened to me. Was I wasn't bold because I wasn't confident. But when I did have those traits and I just said, you know what, I don't care what anybody thinks about me and I'm going to do this because it's for me, I'm so much more in control of my life now than I ever was. It's just by making little changes, guys, in life. It's rocked my entire world. And I'm so thankful that I at least took a chance on myself. And I want everybody to give themselves a chance and stop doubting yourself, because nobody thinks they can do anything when they're already doubting themselves. Like, if you already have a negative connotation about something, or if you're already in the back of your mind, like, I'm just going to say I'm going to do it, but like in all reality, if I mess up, it's okay, then you're already going into it with that kind of mentality that it's okay for you to mess up and you're just going to give up. Instead, you should be saying, you know what, I'm going to try this. And if I have a bad day, I'm going to shake it off. I'm going to regroup. I'm going to get right back into the game and I'm going to accept my bad day, but I'm not going to make that bad day define me, because if you make your bad days define you, then you're going to have a negative mindset. You're not going to want to keep going. You're going to think about all the negative things about yourself instead of looking at the negative and fixing it with the positive. How can you fix what you are being so negative about? There's always a solution. It's just a matter of keeping it real with yourself and accepting that you are not perfect, but perfection isn't the goal. The goal is growth. The goal is to be a better person and to be a better version of yourself. We all have this version of ourselves that we almost like envision, like, ooh, people say in 5 years, where do you want to be? Well, that can look a lot different. 5 years can make a big difference in somebody's life. Or, if you don't take your chances and you don't have faith and you don't believe in yourself, maybe you're going to be stuck in the same place that you are right now in 5 years. So the whole thing about having a growth mindset instead of a fixed mindset is huge. Having that fixed mindset, guys, it really does hinder us. And that lesson that I learned the hard way, of course, I'm so thankful that I took advantage of my resources and that I did start reading. And I I I want everybody to have the same experience. I want you guys to do little things, because little changes lead to big changes. If you believe it or not, the little changes that you make every single day will lead to a big change. And I want that. I want you guys to feel it, because the feeling is amazing. The feeling of loving yourself and knowing that you are doing everything that you can every single day, regardless if your day is perfect or not, is amazing. When you keep doubting yourself, I feel like you just keep burying yourself in this like big freaking hole, and you almost feel as if you're never going to get out. And that is such a negative thing to think, and I hate that I ever let myself get there. But I look back and I'm like, you know what? I shouldn't hate that, because that girl is who made me who I am today. That girl taught me a lot of things. That girl taught me how to be stronger mentally and physically. That girl taught me how to push through. That girl taught me how to love herself. You need to talk to yourself in a nice way. Self-talk is huge. How many times a day do you maybe have negative self-talk and you don't even realize it? The fact that you don't realize negative self-talk already shows how it's so common to you. You're used to it. And I never really realized that I was negative self-talking to myself until I started to point it out to myself. I was like, damn, like, why did I just have that thought about myself? Like, that was so freaking negative. And it does affect you. You might not think it's affecting you because you're so used to it, but it affects you. Positive self-talk is key. It changes your mindset, it changes your life. I encourage you to get books. I encourage you to do your own research. Look up things, look into something new. Keep an open mind. You can learn so much just by being on Google and looking up things about, maybe something that you love, and learn about it and read and tell yourself that you are great and do all the things that it might seem repetitive, but before you know it, it's not even really a job. You want to do it because you feel amazing and you see the growth within yourself. And speaking about growth, the last little thing that was a huge challenge for me is basically the whole results thing. When I started, I was like, "Oh my God, I can't wait to be like, at the end of this because I can't wait to see my results." And I'm a very visual person when it comes to even like learning. You have to almost like show me in person and then I can do it. But even when it comes to my weight loss and stuff, if I wasn't seeing results, it was a little bit discouraging. But it wasn't until I was realizing the number that you see on the scale is nothing but a number. I mean, seriously, when you weigh in and you actually calculate like how much your muscle weighs, and first of all, muscle weighs so freaking much. Muscle's a lot. When you calculate your muscle weight, your water weight, your fat percentage, all of those things, then you're like, oh, like that's how much muscle I have in my body in pounds. Like that's a lot. So when I had weeks that I didn't see results, I had to keep reminding myself, like, you're not going to see it all the time. When people lose inches, you see yourself in the mirror every single day. So you probably are not going to see the results as fast as somebody who maybe hasn't seen you in a while, or, other people, or when you measure in, they're going to be like, "Oh, dang, like it didn't feel like I lost inches, but here you are losing inches or losing weight or, shrinking your fat percentage and building your muscle pounds." So it's just constantly reminding myself that I'm not going to see fast results, and that's okay because fast progress is not always maintainable progress. So with that, I'm going to end episode number 2. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope to see you guys next week for episode 3. Don't forget that I upload every single Monday, and I appreciate all of your support, and